Hi, today we're going to have a quick discussion with Jim Slick of Slick Cyber Systems on why email security matters to your small business. Hi, Jim. If you can help the audience, your viewers, people who have a small business, medium-sized business, and obviously email is important to them on a daily basis. You know, if you're in an office environment, even if you're not, but tell us why security in your email and securing your email is an important thing for business today.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, and I think is the to realize that your data is your business, right?
Okay.
And you could say, there's always the arguments to that of, oh well, no, I make widgets and that's really my business. Yeah, yes, that's what you make, but the data that you've got, you think about it, accounts payable, how much money do you owe? Who do you owe it to? How about your customers, right? That's incoming money. Well, how
Yeah.
much money do you have incoming? What
Mhm.
if your customer decides not to pay? If you don't know about it, you're not going to get paid. And it's kind of hard to keep the lights on when there's no money coming in.
Yeah.
So, hence, I will always say data is the business. It is a foundation. So you need to protect that data. So where does one start? Obviously, email. There's a tremendous amount of um, bad actors that are trying to get in, and the most
Okay.
common vector is through email. You send a what looks like an invoice or a PO
Hmm.
or something like that, and to the unsuspecting, oh yeah, well, hey, we have a purchase order, an invoice. They open it up. Well, now they've got a virus or worse, right? A crypto,
Okay.
any number of bad things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's so there's methods to put in place to protect that, and so I guess we should start peeling the onion back.
Layer by layer.
Yeah, right. First and foremost, an email gateway, security gateway product is huge.
Okay.
So you figure most people are running Office 365, Microsoft 365. Um, that is, an incredibly robust platform, but if the message gets down to the end user that's bad, right? It's
Yeah.
not necessarily the platform that's going to get goofed up. It's likely the network, that it's opened up on. So if you have an email filter, all right, so a gateway,
Okay.
email flows into that first. It is scanned for, obviously spam, right? The most common, annoying spam. Um, it's also it's looking for viruses. It's looking for phishing scams. It's looking for any potential bad threat that's coming in via an email, and it's quarantining it or flat out deleting it before it ever gets to that point. To the end user to be able
Okay.
to.
So the gateway, you're saying the gateway on that person's business, it's in their environment, or is it external? Is it
It's
somewhere else?
external. Yeah, most of them are cloud. It could be if you're still hosting email inside, inside your on premise. Then yeah, you could get an appliance, be it virtual or a physical appliance, to be able to take care of that. But
But the
most
vast
commonly,
majority of them are externally.
yeah, they're cloud based, and yeah, so you're going into emails traveling into one server at one location, and then when it passes, then it forwards it over to the actual email server itself, and that way it never even gets in the building, right? So now you're dealing with all this outside stuff, which there's an inherent risk for that, and that's for a topic for another day,
Yeah.
not this one. But in this particular case, it does make sense.
Okay.
You're trapping email, you're keeping it away from the end user is the bottom line.
Okay. So that's the key, is to keep the bad stuff away from your end user. But let's just say an email does get through. So, or emails, because you don't have a filter in place. You don't have a gateway in place. So someone's checking their email, a new order comes through, or a question comes through. How does someone who's not a security expert and literally is just a person that maybe they're new, they're fresh out of college, they're a high school kid, they're back in the workforce
Yep.
from, having a couple of kids, and, they're not familiar with the most modern methods of what to look for, how to behave. What should tell me more about that part.
It is, and this comes down to the most important thing, and that's training your users, right? It takes time. Um, there are, okay, so you had mentioned, I believe, purchase order, right? So how many times, or an invoice, how many
Yeah.
times have we all seen, hey, an invoice, or here's a purchase order? It's
Yeah. Just an
attachment.
order. Yeah. Yeah.
Could be a PDF, could be a Word doc,
Hmm.
and the first thing that I will always say is, well, obviously training the employees, but as an end user, right, of email myself, do I know the company that's sending it? Am I familiar with? Do I do business with them today, or is it something I've never heard of? Well, it could be, GE, or look like GE, right? But and oh yeah, I'd love to do business with General Electric, but
Yeah.
you follow me?
Yeah.
So you want to verify and make sure that email is legit. So
Okay.
is if you don't deal with the company and you don't know who the sender is, pick up the phone. I mean, there still should be a human to human interaction. So if you pick up the phone, you call, GE or XYZ company, right, that sent you this PO or this invoice. Hey, I got this invoice, I got an email from an invoice. Is this real? Contact the so-called person on there, attempt to, and even be careful of that. But I don't want to go too deep in with this for this video. Um, but you've got to teach people to look and say, have I dealt with this company before? If it is somebody that you've dealt with all the time and they're used to sending in, you're used to seeing purchase orders from them, fine. Okay, now that you've done due diligence enough to say, yes, I know the company, yes, I know the sender. Okay, the chances are this is legitimate. I'm not saying it always will be, but you're covering your bases. So training, training, training. So that brings in another, potential, uh, we'll call it a security measure, but the training tool, like we use, Barracuda's managed fish line, where it literally will send out, we give a list of users and it will send out and test users. So it'll send a phishing email or what have you, to that particular user, and
How often does that happen?
it's random every month. It will send out X number of, these phishing tests, if you will. And
Yeah.
phishing, by the way,
So
is
it's an
PH.
ongoing monthly test for the users in your environment.
Right, exactly. And you can see if you have somebody that's opening, one or two up here and there, train them more. I mean, that should be your clue as a business owner, a security manager, an IT manager. You should be able to look at that and go, okay, this person needs some additional training, some hand holding.
Yeah.
All right, if what's the old story? When in doubt, right? When in
Yeah.
doubt, call IT, call the help desk. I mean, my goodness, it takes a couple of minutes, out of your day. I know it's minutes out of your day. I get it, but better safe than sorry. Because if you create a problem and you're down or the company is down,
Hmm.
now you're losing a lot more in a couple of minutes time.
So you're recommending that email that they get, that they have questions, they either call you. How about if they say they have questions, they're forwarding that email off to other users in the environment, their boss, another person that's a supervisor, or back to help us. What I mean,
You you certainly could do that. For the email off to your help desk, if you have an IT department, send it to them,
okay.
and get their opinion of it, because at least then you have an expert set of eyes, looking at it. And and worst case scenario, at least send it to your supervisor, manager, owner, what have you. Depending on the size of the business, of course, right? And
Hmm.
and at least get another set of eyes on it. And if that person is unsure, well, then you better engage IT at that point, and
Okay.
let us, let we MSPs do our job and what we're paid for, and that's to answer and help and be able to look at this, with these types of things with an expert eye.
Okay. Okay. So training's number one, paramount. You understand that, like, you as the business, you're the manager, as the person that's in charge. I'd have to say this rolls up to at least the business or the management of the business. If the business owner is not on site,
Right.
should have some sort of program in place that identifies, things to look for, working
Absolutely.
with, working with your IT people, or and teaching, those less savvy users, or just new users, inexperienced users. These
All
these are potentially bad.
all users, all users.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
obviously inexperienced and lesser experienced, sure, but it should be all users, regardless of how long you've been at it. It's good to have a test. So yeah, training is the number one. Period.
Okay. Okay.
There's no excuse not to have you know email training, IT training. Period. It's part of your job. If data is the business and you're touching the data, right? 2 + 2 = 4. I mean,
So any data user that uses a computer, has access to email, has, that kind of information, should be trained, should understand what
right,
that means.
right.
And what do you think that looks like, that training? Is it how often, how frequent, how?
I think once it's the onboarding. I mean, that's the biggest time, right? You're bringing somebody into your culture, your business culture, and
Mhm.
and you want to make sure that they're trained on policies and of the company, which all companies do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're expecting them to be able to do the job, and you've got your quirks about your job, et cetera. But that IT training should be huge. It should be a 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour chunk, whatever it is, depending on the complexity of your IT environment, right? But it should be taken very seriously and added as part of any curriculum, training curriculum,
Mhm.
onboarding curriculum for somebody. Now, to do a refresher here and there, absolutely, like that managed fish line we I was talking about before. Um, there's no reason why that shouldn't be just put and run year round. The handful of emails a month. I mean, again, if nothing else, it's a litmus test for for you, IT ownership. To be able to look and say, yeah, my employees are doing the right thing, or I have somebody that may need a little bit extra, as I'd mentioned before.
Okay, so the good guys get the gold stars, and the ones that need a little more attention, a little more TLC, a little more learning, have the opportunity to say, "Hey, they're trying, but the test found problems,
Right,
and it before it actually, if you will, a real world problem does infect
right,
your environment." Okay,
exactly,
that makes
exactly.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's just it's common practice today to do that, and it's good practice, good business practice.
Okay. Outside of those particular things, what else do you think that a business owner, a manager, somebody that has to keep their eye on a business, needs to know about email security? What other things do you think would be helpful to?
I mean, the obviously you should have a good, solid business antivirus on your machine that is current and up to date. WebRoot Secure Anywhere, Bitdefender. I mean, there's a pile of good ones. And I think the other thing, Chris, is to have you've got to have good IT support services behind that, because at the end of the day, you know, MSPs like ours, Slick Cyber Systems, we're trying to do the right thing for the business. We're trying to keep businesses up and running. I mean, that's they make money, we make money, right? I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so it is our desire, our goal, to make sure that that company, from an IT perspective, doesn't have any issues. So we're going to do, we could do training, although we infrequently do, just because it's been taken so seriously internally, which is a great thing. So training, is obviously it's such an important thing in it, and it should be in every business culture. But the MSP also is there. We could train as well. We have those programs, like the managed fish line, et cetera, that we can bring in. And at the end of the day, you can always pick up the phone and call us. Hey, I've got this thing on the screen, doesn't look right. Or forward the email over to, the help desk of the MSP and just say, is this good? Is
Take a
this not
look at it
good?
for me. Can you help me figure it
Yeah.
out?
Set of expert eyes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure. So
So if
that's
anybody has questions with regard to this, they don't know what next to do, They kind of understand basically what you said. What should they do next? How do they get in touch with you? How do they communicate? What are the methods that allow them to, have those conversations with you?
My goodness, you certainly can email sales at slickcybersystems.com.
Mhm.
One of us will get back to you. You can give us a call, 570-215-8000, and give us a call there. I mean, we're here to help. You can visit us on the web, www.slickcybersystems.com. There's a contact form there. It's got our phone numbers there. I mean, by all means, there's a pile of ways to get in touch with us. But we would be eager to speak with you and
So give
help.
you a call if they have a question, find you online at slickcybersystems.com, whatever is most convenient for you, and
Yeah,
your team will reach back out to them to give them a hand.
absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Jim.
You're quite welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.